Good morning, GraceHill, and everyone else out there who's listening. I'm just so reminded on Sunday of Brad's sermon in Philippians 1. This chapter in this chapter we read from, it explains Paul's perspective of his imprisonment. Specifically, Paul sees the many hardships of his life as a good thing, for one reason only, that it's led to the spread of the gospel. Paul has been held captive, but this has allowed him to preach to his jailers. Paul expresses personally and powerfully his passion for Christ and his desire to know Christ more deeply. It reminded me of another situation in the Bible when the Israelites were taken captive, exiled to Babylon. We all know the verse in Jeremiah 29 verse 11 so well, and a lot of us have got it stuck up everywhere. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. But we need to look at the preceding verses from verse 4 till 7. And this is what it reads. This is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says to all those I carried into exile from Jerusalem to Babylon. Build houses and settle down, plant gardens and eat what they produce, marry and have sons and daughters, find wives for your sons and give your daughters in marriage, so that they too may have sons and daughters. Increase in number there, do not decrease. Also, seek the peace and prosperity of the city to which I have carried you into exile. Pray to the Lord for it, because if it prospers, you too will prosper. Yes, this is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. And that is just the perspective Paul had. Paul saw the circumstances in which he was in, and he used it to spread the gospel. And these circumstances of the Israelites being in exile, God is encouraging them to pray for the city, to pray for the place, because if it prospers, they prosper. So we need to have a godly perspective of the circumstances that we find ourselves in from time to time, and look for the opportunities to further his gospel, to be his hands and his feet and his voice in a hurting world. So let us turn our circumstances for gain for Christ. Remember, he says, I know the plans I have for you. They are to prosper you and not to harm you. They're to give us a hope and a future. I pray that today would be just that for you, that you would see the circumstances with new eyes and celebrate with joy as you further God's kingdom.